I stood in the kitchen of my small Phoenix apartment, staring at the email on my phone screen. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. The subject line read, University Bursar's Office, Payment Overdue Notice. But that couldn't be right. I had been saving for 18 years. 18 years of skipping vacations, buying clothes at thrift stores, working double shifts at the hospital on holidays. Every single paycheck, I had put away $200 into that education fund, sometimes $300 when I picked up extra weekend shifts. I had watched that account grow from $5,000 to $43,000. It was supposed to cover all 4 years of my son Tyler's college education at Arizona State. My boy. My brilliant boy who got accepted with a partial scholarship. The boy who promised me just 6 months ago, with tears in his eyes, Mom, I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to be the first person in our family to graduate college. Everything you sacrificed will be worth it. I called the bursar's office immediately. My voice cracked when the woman answered. Hi, this is Margaret Chen. I'm calling about my son Tyler Chen's account. There must be some mistake. His tuition was paid in full for the year. The woman's voice was professionally sympathetic but firm. Mrs. Chen, I'm looking at the account now. We received an initial payment of $8,000 in August, but nothing since. The fall semester balance of $14,000 is now 60 days overdue, and spring semester is due next month. But the money... I couldn't finish the sentence. My throat had closed up. Ma'am, I suggest you contact your son directly about this. I sat down at my kitchen table, the same table where Tyler and I used to do his homework together, where I had helped him fill out college applications, where he had shown me his acceptance letter, and we both cried happy tears. I logged into the college fund account with trembling fingers. My password still worked, but when the balance loaded, I actually gasped out loud. $372. That was all that remained of 18 years of savings. The transaction history told the story. Tyler had gotten access to the account in June when I added him as an authorized user, thinking it would make the tuition payments easier. Between July and October, he had made 23 withdrawals. $8,000 had gone to the university. The rest? The descriptions were vague. Transfer to external account. Withdrawal, transfer. I sat there for an hour, just staring at the screen. The afternoon sun moved across the kitchen floor. My coffee went cold in my cup. I felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it couldn't beat anymore. Finally, I picked up my phone and called Tyler. It rang 4 times before he answered. I could hear music and laughter in the background. Hey, Mom, what's up? Tyler. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Flat, cold. I just got a call from your bursar's office. The background noise continued for a moment. Then I heard him walking away from it. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Mom, listen, I can explain. Where is the money, Tyler? I made an investment. Mom, I was going to tell you, there was this opportunity, and I know it sounds crazy, but everyone was doing it, and I thought if I could just double the money, we'd have enough for all 4 years plus crypto. I didn't ask it. I stated it. Because of course it was. Of course my brilliant boy had thrown away $40,000 on cryptocurrency. It's not what you think. It was going to work, Mom. The returns were insane. 10% a week. I was going to surprise you, pay for all of college and have money left over. But then the market crashed and... How much is left? Silence. Tyler, how much is left of the $43,000 I saved? Nothing. It's gone, Mom, all of it. But listen, I have a plan. If you could just lend me a little more, I can recover it. There's this new opportunity. I hung up on my son for the first time in his life. For the next 3 days, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face my coworkers, couldn't face anyone. I sat in my apartment and thought about all those years. The Christmas I told Tyler we couldn't afford the gaming console he wanted because Mom needed to save money. The vacation to Disneyland we never took. The car I drove for 14 years because I couldn't justify buying a new one when every dollar could go to his future. Tyler called me 17 times. I didn't answer. He sent text after text. Mom, please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I thought I was helping. Please don't be mad. "Mom, I need to pay rent this month." That last text made something inside me snap. He needed rent money. Of course he did. He had blown his mother's life savings, and now he needed more money. On the fourth day, I went back to work. I was a surgical nurse at Phoenix General Hospital, and I was good at my job. Excellent, actually. 22 years of experience. But I had never thought about doing anything else because I was saving for Tyler's education. Every promotion opportunity that required additional training, I had turned it down because the courses cost money. Every chance to start a side business with my nursing skills, I had said no because I needed to work overtime instead. During my lunch break, I sat in my car and thought about my retirement account. I had $32,000 saved. It wasn't enough to retire on, not even close, but it was something. And then I thought, what am I saving it for? To give to Tyler someday, so he can lose that too? For the first time in 18 years, I asked myself what I actually wanted. Not what Tyler needed, not what I was supposed to want as a good mother. What did Margaret Chen, 62-year-old woman, actually want from the rest of her life? The answer surprised me. I wanted to help people, not just as a nurse, but in a different way. I wanted to teach, share what I knew, and I wanted to never, ever feel this financially helpless again. That night, I made a decision. I took $15,000 from my retirement account. I enrolled in an online business certification program specifically for healthcare professionals starting consulting businesses. I hired a web designer. I registered a business name, Chen Nursing Consultancy, Healthcare Career Guidance. My plan was simple. I would use my 2 decades of nursing experience to help young people navigate healthcare careers, not just nursing, but all the allied health fields. I would teach them what programs were worth the money, which ones were scams, how to avoid student debt, how to actually build a career instead of just getting a degree. The business launched in January. I made my first dollar in February when a worried mother paid me $50 for a 1-hour consultation about whether her daughter should become a nurse or a physician assistant. By March, I had 12 clients. By April, I had a waiting list. Tyler texted me every week. "Mom, can we talk? Mom, I'm sorry. Mom, I need help with something." I responded only once. "I'm busy building a business. We'll talk when I'm ready." In May, I hired my first employee, another experienced nurse who wanted flexibility. In June, we hosted our first workshop, Healthcare Careers, The Truth About Money and Debt. 30 people attended. We charged $75 each. I wasn't making a fortune, but I was making enough to pay my bills, rebuild my retirement, and feel like I mattered. Like I had value beyond being someone's mother, beyond being the woman who sacrificed everything and got nothing in return. Tyler's texts became more desperate in July. "Mom, I really need to talk. It's important. Please call me back." I finally replied, "Come to my apartment Saturday at 2 p.m. When he knocked on my door that Saturday, I barely recognized him. His hair was too long. He had lost weight. His clothes looked slept in. The confident college boy who had hugged me goodbye 9 months ago was gone. In his place stood a man who looked defeated. "Mom," his voice broke. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I messed up everything. I had to drop out. I couldn't pay the tuition, and I was too ashamed to tell you, and then I lost my campus job and I can't afford my apartment, and I have $23,000 in credit card debt from trying to recover the crypto losses, and I don't know what to do." I looked at my son, my baby boy, 20 years old and drowning. Part of me wanted to rescue him. That's what mothers do, right? But the other part of me, the part that had been born in the last 6 months, knew that rescuing him now would destroy us both. "Come in," I said. He sat at the kitchen table, the same table from all those homework nights. I made him tea, the way I used to when he was stressed about exams. He wrapped his hands around the mug like he was freezing. "Mom, I know I have no right to ask, but I need help. I need money. Just enough to get back on my feet, and I swear I'll pay you back. I'll get a job, any job, and—" I slid a piece of paper across the table. His eyes widened as he looked at it. It was a job application for Chen Nursing Consultancy. What is this?" "It's a job offer," I said calmly. "Entry level, $20 an hour. You'll be doing administrative work, scheduling, social media management, basic accounting. Eventually, if you prove yourself, you can work up to running workshops about financial literacy for young people. I think you're uniquely qualified to teach people what not to do with their money." Tyler stared at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. I don't understand. You're offering me a job? After what I did? I'm offering you a chance to earn your way back. Not to where you were, you can't go back to that, but to something new, something you build yourself instead of having handed to you. But your business. How did you? When did you? I started it 6 months ago. With my retirement money, the money I was saving for my old age. Want to know why? I leaned forward. Because I realized something, Tyler. I spent 18 years living for your future, and you threw it away in 4 months. But instead of destroying me, it freed me. I finally started living for myself. And you know what? I'm happier now than I've been in years. He started crying. Real, shoulder-shaking sobs. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was so stupid. I thought I was being smart. But I was greedy. I wanted to be the guy who made it big. The guy who could buy you a house instead of having you work yourself to death for me. Tyler. I reached across and put my hand over his. Do you know what the worst part was? Not the money. Not the lost education fund. It was that you didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. You could have called me the day after it crashed. We could have figured it out together. But instead, you hid it. You let me find out from a stranger at the bursar's office. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Good. You should regret it. But regret alone doesn't fix anything. I tapped the job application. This is how you fix it. You work. You rebuild. You learn. And you do it without my safety net. Because I don't have one to give you anymore. I used it to build this business instead. He looked at me with red, swollen eyes. Will you ever forgive me? I thought about that question carefully. I don't know yet, I said honestly. Ask me again in a year. After you've shown me through your actions, not your words, that you understand what you did, that you've grown, that you've learned the difference between a get-rich-quick scheme and actual hard work. Tyler took the job. He started the following Monday. The first month was hard. He showed up late twice. He complained about the work being boring. He asked me 3 times if I could just lend him $1,000 to get caught up on his debts. Each time, I said no. Each time, I reminded him, you earn your way out of this hole. You don't borrow your way out. But slowly, something changed. He started arriving 15 minutes early. He began making suggestions for improving our social media presence. He asked if he could sit in on my consultations to learn. In August, he proposed a workshop series specifically for college students about managing money, and I said yes. The first workshop was called How I Lost $40,000 in 4 Months, a cautionary tale. Tyler stood in front of 30 college students and told them everything. How he got greedy. How he thought he was smarter than everyone else. How he betrayed his mother's trust. How he had to drop out of school and start over at the bottom. 3 students cried. 5 came up to him afterward to say they had been considering similar investments. One young man said, "You just saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life." I stood in the back of the room and watched my son do something I had never seen before. Take full responsibility for his failures and turn them into something useful for others. After everyone left, Tyler came over to me. "Mom, thank you for giving me this chance. You're earning it," I said. "Every day, you're earning it. I know I can't pay back the $43,000. Not for a long time, maybe never. But I want you to know that I'm putting 20% of every paycheck into a savings account. It's up to $800 now. I'm calling it my mom's retirement fund restoration project." I felt my eyes water. "Tyler, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I have to. Not because you're demanding it, but because it's the right thing to do. You taught me that. It just took me 20 years and a massive failure to actually listen." In September, Chen Nursing Consultancy was featured in a local Phoenix newspaper article about women starting businesses after 60. The reporter asked me what inspired me to start the business. I told her the truth. My son made a catastrophic financial mistake that destroyed my life savings, and instead of destroying me with it, it forced me to ask myself what I actually wanted. Turns out, I wanted this. I wanted to build something of my own. I wanted to matter in a different way than I had mattered before. The reporter asked if I resented my son. I looked over at Tyler, who was in the corner office scheduling next month's workshops. I resented what he did, I said carefully, but I'm grateful for what it taught both of us. He learned that there are no shortcuts to success. And I learned that I'm more than just a mother. I'm a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a teacher, and I'm good at it. That article brought in 47 new clients. We had to hire a third staff member. Tyler worked for me for 18 months before he had saved enough to go back to school part-time. But this time, he chose a state college with affordable tuition. This time, he applied for every scholarship and grant available. This time, he worked 25 hours a week at my business while taking 12 credit hours. He would graduate in 4 years instead of 2, and he would have some debt, but not crushing debt. Manageable debt. The kind you pay off through consistent work, not through miracle investments. On the day he made his final tuition payment for his first semester back, he came into my office and put an envelope on my desk. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it." Inside was a check for $3,000. "Tyler, this is 20% of every paycheck for 18 months, plus the extra I saved by living in that terrible apartment with 3 roommates and eating ramen 4 nights a week. I know it's not $43,000. It's not even close. But it's a start. And I'm not stopping. Every semester, every paycheck, 20% goes back to you until the day I've paid back every penny, even if it takes me 20 years. I looked at my son, really looked at him. The boy who had been entitled and reckless was gone. The man who stood before me understood the value of money, not because someone told him, but because he had learned the hardest way possible. "I'm proud of you," I said. And I meant it. "I'm proud of you too, Mom. This business. You're helping so many people. Did you know there's a waiting list now? 3 months long? You're changing lives." "We're changing lives," I corrected. "Your workshops are the most popular ones we offer. Only because I'm the idiot who learned the lessons the hard way so other people don't have to." He grinned, and I saw a flash of my little boy. But different, better. "Hey, Mom, can I ask you something?" "Always. Do you forgive me? It's been a year and a half. I know you said to ask you in a year." I stood up and walked around my desk. I hugged my son, something I hadn't done since that terrible day in the kitchen when he came to me broken. "Yes," I said into his shoulder. "Yes, I forgive you. Not because enough time has passed, but because you did the work. You changed. You grew up." He hugged me back, and I felt him shaking. "I love you, Mom. I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to appreciate what I had. I love you too, baby. And you know what? I'm not sorry. Not anymore. Because look what we built from the ashes. Look what we became." That night I sat in my apartment, the same small apartment, because I still lived modestly, but now by choice, not by necessity, and I opened my laptop. My retirement account had $38,000 in it. Chen Nursing Consultancy had $22,000 in the business account. I had 3 employees, 2 to 112 clients, and a waiting list that grew every week. More importantly, I had a son who understood the value of work, who knew that shortcuts lead to disaster, who was learning to build his life with patience and integrity instead of greed and desperation. Tyler had taken my college fund for a fantasy of quick riches, and in doing so, he had left me with nothing. But from that nothing, I had built something that mattered. Something that was mine, and he had learned a lesson worth more than $43,000. I was 63 years old. I had started a successful business. I had rebuilt my retirement. I had taught my son the most important lesson he would ever learn, and I had discovered that I was capable of so much more than I had ever imagined. The money was gone, but the woman who emerged from that loss, she was worth far more than any college fund. She was worth everything, and when I looked at my son now, I saw something I hadn't seen before. A man who would teach his own children the value of money, the importance of trust, and the power of rebuilding, after you've destroyed everything. That was my real inheritance to him, not $43,000, but wisdom earned through pain, transformation through failure, and the knowledge that you're never too old to start over and never too young to grow up. I called it even.